I hear babies in your background.
We're Hasani and Danielle Pettiford, and we're a real couple with real problems who almost called it quits.
I was very frustrated. I became very disconnected, very jaded and cold.
We have 4 children, going on 20 years of marriage, and we practice what we preach.
Our mission, to change the way couples relate to one another and teach them the skills needed to improve the quality of their relationships.
This is the Couples Academy Show.
Well, welcome everyone. Welcome to the Couples Academy Show. My name is Hasani.
And I am Roland.
And we're here. We are practitioners of Couples Academy coming to you today. Listen, we're about to jump into a new series, a series on trust. This is one of the things that people struggle with throughout the course of their recovery process. We say this all the time, trust and triggers. But the reality is, I don't trust you. And that's what we want to talk about today. Now, obviously, there are things that have been done in the relationship that have caused a breach of trust, but maybe the trust issue goes beyond your spouse. That's what we're talking about today on the Couples Academy Show. Now, listen, wherever you're tuning in from, we want to make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Let the people know that we are live. Share it with your community because this is going to be a necessary conversation that you want to dive into. But before we go there, listen, Last Chance Weekend coming up the second weekend of August. We had such an amazing time in July, but guess what? There's a new month. There's a new group. There's a new level of transformation that is waiting for you and your spouse. So why don't you reach out to us today at couplesacademy.org, sign up, get in so that life will be new and different. Listen, we want to go to a quick testimonial of someone who experienced the Last Chance Weekend, the impact that it had on her and her spouse. And then we'll get into today's conversation. So stay right there.
Hi, my name is Brenda Eskridge, and I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina. This weekend has been a phenomenal experience. I did come in a little closed-minded, kind of like, if there's no magic pill that's gonna help this marriage, it's over and I'm okay with that. But from the first evening, the work began, and within just really 12 hours, my mindset shifted to really wanting to work on my marriage. So I would say the experience, the first day was just, I can't even describe how I felt. And, being able to step inside myself, or step outside of myself, I should say, and see the role that I played in our issue with infidelity, and just what we've learned so far, and the tools and techniques to use going forward, I think are going to be a tremendous help for the relationship. I thought about, as I'm sitting in the class, all the people that I know that are separated or have gone through a divorce, like, man, I wish that they could have had this experience, because I know they would still be together right now.
All right, guys, we're back. You're watching the Couples Academy Show. We're talking about the topic, I don't trust you. Now, I don't want to talk about it in the context of a betrayal, because it would be obvious that trust issues would be established if there was a betrayal. But the fact is, many of us came into the relationship with trust issues. Many of us, within our own internal wiring, struggle to trust, struggle to believe, struggle to open up, struggle to be vulnerable. And when there is a struggle to be vulnerable and to trust, it can negatively impact the quality of the relationship. So that's what we're talking about today. Roland, I know as you've been working with many of these couples who've come to you for help, they've come obviously from a place of betrayal, but trust for some of them was an issue prior to.
Absolutely. A lot of times, what happens is we don't want to be vulnerable. We don't want to be transparent. And we think that being vulnerable makes us weak. But being vulnerable actually gives space to allow you and your spouse to have a level of intimacy that probably wasn't there before. So we have to learn how to open up and how to be honest and transparent with one another. We are on the same team. So we don't have to feel like somebody is going to get us because we're talking about our spouses.
You know, you use this word vulnerable, right? So when we talk about vulnerability, it means exposing oneself. It means being emotionally naked. Like, for instance, Roland, if I had a gun, this would never happen. But if I pointed it at you and I said, take off all your clothes, right? And you stripped out naked, you're going to cover up your most private parts, your most sensitive areas. And likewise, when it comes to being emotionally vulnerable, we cover up our most emotional private areas, our head and our heart, where our thoughts and our feelings are. And we have this thick, impenetrable wall that we've built that creates this blockage, this huge barrier. And then we wonder why we struggle with trust. Is because, to your point, vulnerability isn't there. And Roland, real talk, even though I may be in a personal relationship, romantic relationship with my spouse, my ability to be vulnerable could have been impacted by a relationship that I have with a sibling, a relationship that I have with a parent, something that happened in my childhood that taught me a lesson. And so now I bring those past hurts, past pains, trust issues into my present relationship. And now my spouse has to pay a debt for something that she didn't contribute to.
A lot of times we have this protection mentality of I'm not going to let anybody ever hurt me again. It's this won't ever happen to me again. I'm not going to let anybody get over on me ever again. And what
Mm,
happens is we have our spouses who should be the safest person that we can talk to, the safest person that we can be around. And even because of our past experiences, we have this guard up. We put this hedge of protection up around us to say, no, not this time. It won't happen to me again. And we
mm.
don't open up to allow ourselves to be transparent and be honest, just with ourselves or with our spouses.
So now you come into a relationship with a deficit. So, but hi, my name is, I don't trust you. Well, I didn't do nothing yet. I don't trust you.
Right.
The reason why I don't trust you is because I don't trust.
Hmm.
And because I don't trust you. See, now it's interesting. I'm working with a couple. We're doing an intensive, and the trust issue literally started from childhood. This is an individual that not only struggles to trust their spouse, they don't trust their parents, they don't trust their siblings. And so I said, you know what? Why don't we just pray? I don't trust God. And I'm just like, well, good God, if you don't trust God, then your spouse don't even stand a chance. And so oftentimes it is something within us, something that we're dealing with internally that impact our relationship. We talk about this all the time. There's three relationships we all have. There's the relationship we have with God, that's our vertical relationship. The
Hmm.
relationship that we have with ourselves, that's our internal relationship. And then the relationship we have with others, those are our horizontal ones. So if the internal and the vertical isn't right, then the horizontal is always going to struggle. And this is why we have these apparent issues.
The old folks used to say, we're going to sleep with one eye open and one eye closed. A lot of us walking around with our eyes wide open, but they're really closed because we have this level of mistrust because of past experiences. And so oftentimes we sabotage our own relationships, whether it be with our spouses, whether it be with our friends, our coworkers, because we have this attitude that everyone is out to get me. Everyone is
Mm,
out to, they have something against me. There's a conspiracy against me. And so for that cause, we don't establish healthy relationships. We don't establish healthy conversations, and we find ourselves wondering why nobody wants to hang out with me, why nobody wants to be my friend. Well, you've already sabotaged it when you said, "Hi, my name is," and in your head, "I don't trust you." It's crazy.
Bro, like that's a bomb drop right there. That's a straight up bomb drop. Bomb drop. And listen, guys, listen, we are watching the Couples Academy show. We're talking about I don't trust you and why that is. I want to piggyback off of the self sabotage you just mentioned on the other side of this. Stay tuned. If you've got questions, if you've got comments, we want to hear from you. Be right back in just a second. All right, guys, we're back. We're talking about I don't trust you and why that is. Roland, it's a listen. Let me just say I appreciate you being on the show. You give such insight, and the perspective you come from is rich and is exactly what the audience needs. Daryl says, um, like you guys always say, trust is lost in buckets and gained in drops. Been in it long term, just show up. Absolutely true. And that's the thing. Like, trust is lost in buckets and gained in drops, wherever that trust issue may come from. And so when you've inherited your spouse's trust issue that you had nothing to do with, it can be frustrating. It could feel like, good God, how long am I going to have to live up under the thumb of you because you're accusing me of something? And here's the deal, your spouse's trust issue doesn't make you guilty.
Mhm.
Did you hear that? If I struggle with trust and I don't believe something regarding Danielle, that doesn't make her guilty. It means that there's something within me that I've got to deal with. And here's the deal, you talked about self sabotage, right? So many relationships are self sabotage. Um, and they're experiencing these self-fulfilled prophecies because I don't trust you, because I have this wall up, because I believe that you're doing something wrong. I'm going to find evidence.
Mhm.
Even if there's no evidence to be found, I'm going to find something and I'm going to make it a reality. And so, as we say all the time, whatever you believe, you're right. If
Mhm.
you believe inherently that I am a liar, you are right, because you will find evidence to support your belief, even though there is no evidence, but you created it in your mind. You've cemented it in your mind that this is a fact, though it may not be a fact, because I feel it so strong, it must be factual. But facts and feelings are not the same thing, and we have to understand the difference. So, we're not here talking about trust that is lost as a result of what your spouse has done, but we're talking about the trust issues that you brought into the relationship, the residue from the past that you're in essence holding your spouse hostage to.
You know, the fact of the matter is, we don't realize how much life and death is in the power of the tongue. And so if we keep speaking, "Oh, yes, I don't trust you because I'm going to find something. I'm going to make something up. I'm going to make something exist that really doesn't exist. Now you're telling this story to yourself that this really happened based on past experiences. And when we bring those things, when we bring old baggage into new relationships, we find ourselves with a mess. These are not my clothes. This is not my toothbrush, right? We bringing in old stuff into new relationships, and a lot of times we need to dump. We need to dump a lot of things before we even come together as a unit, because we need to start fresh. We need to start on a clean slate and understand one another and know that we can trust one another. We have to give ourselves a chance before we take off for this journey, for this trip, if that makes sense.
And so, if this is you in a relationship and you're struggling with trust, a couple things we want you to be mindful of, questions that you should begin to ask yourself, because sometimes the best conversations you could ever have are with yourself. And so, as you're having these conversations, ask yourself this first question: what is the story that I'm telling myself? So, in essence, when I experience life with you, when I'm having a conversation with you, though this may happen, there's a story that I'm telling myself about this. In essence, I'm attaching a specific meaning to your message or to your behavior that may be very different than what you meant by what you said or what you did. And so, if I'm having my own internal conversation that draws me to a conclusion that may be separate from the reality that I'm experiencing, then that can help to self sabotage the relationship that I'm currently in with you. So that's one of the things you want to be mindful of. What are the thoughts that you're thinking? What are those dominating thoughts that are really ruminating in your mind again and again and again and again, and have formed these concrete beliefs? We talk about this all the time. Your belief system, the first letter in belief is B, the first letter in system is S. Your belief system may be BS and may be causing you to view me or to interact with me in a particular way.
And a lot of times it also comes from, again, who are you listening to? Because a lot of times we tell our story and we thinking we're telling our story just to ourselves, but we're telling our story based on what we're hearing. We're telling our stories based on who we're talking to. And so then we can tell our story one way, we can have our thoughts another way, but then we're
Mhm.
listening to someone else in our ear. You should do it like this, and I wouldn't trust him, and I wouldn't trust her, because now you're taking your own past experiences with someone else's experiences, and now you're trying to create this story with someone new that has nothing to do with none of your experience. Again, when we have self-inflicted wounds, we are self-sabotaging our own narratives because we're allowing other people to tell our story. You're going to find yourself in trouble all the time.
Who has your ear is so critically important. We say this all the time. We oftentimes share our problems with people who share the same problems that we're dealing with, and it's just reinforcing more doubt, more fear, more insecurity. More paranoia, more of a struggle, more of a belief why we should never trust again because we're going to the wrong people seeking the right advice, and it really messes this up. You have to truly be careful who you begin to have conversations with, because it can really backfire on you. So here's the next point. Does my fear of loss and abandonment cloud my perspective and cause me to overreact to my partner's actions? So if I came into the relationship not feeling worthy, not feeling good enough, always struggling with the fear of loss or abandonment, believing that I'm just going to be rejected, then it causes me to really struggle to open up and to give my all, to be vulnerable and to trust, because I inherently believe something's eventually going to happen. So now I show up to my relationship that way, and then I have all of these problems in the relationship, and I can't quite point my finger to it, but I have a bias. There's something called confirmation bias. I'm looking for evidence to confirm the bias that I have about my partner. And because I don't trust and I don't trust you, I need now evidence to support why I don't trust you, even though there's nothing tangible, touchable, concrete, or real that I can point to. Or maybe if there is, maybe something has happened. Maybe something has happened in the relationship that gives me pause. And see, now that's the reason why I can't trust you. And because there was an incident, right, where your trust was questioned, now you, like a blanket, throw everything at your spouse and say you can't trust them at all forever, for the rest of your life, in perpetuity, because of something that happened some time ago.
A lot of times we often lie to ourselves and don't want to admit to the insecurities that we all have. There are some insecurities that would allow us to not trust or to see things from a perspective that really isn't there. But if you look at insecurities and look at the root word of insecurities, it is secure. But if you find some security within yourself, if you be secure within yourself, then you would allow yourself to be able to trust and allow yourself to be vulnerable and open up to be able to receive some things that are coming to you. But if you take the word secure and break that down, you see secure. You have to see secure. You have to be able to see a cure in your from your past situations. In other words, you have to know that you are healing, right? But you also have to know that you're already cured as well. So when we walk in a level of security, right, we'll be able to walk in a confidence knowing that I am protected without having to protect, because you are already walking with a level of confidence that would allow you to be able to move about.
Did you just say you have to see a cure? Listen, folks. I've never even heard that breakdown before. That to me is a bomb drop. Okay, you just doing it today all morning long, Roland. I appreciate that. Yes, you need to bring security back into your insecure space within your relationship. Listen, guys, you're watching the Couples Academy show. We're talking about these trust issues and how to overcome them. We'll be right back. Stay right there.
Couples Academy is expanding its team to meet the growing demand of people in need of help around the world. So if you're a trained, licensed, or certified expert in marriage enrichment, infidelity recovery, sex therapy, life coaching, cognitive behavioral therapy, divorce mediation, financial coaching, or family therapy, contact us today. If you're a man and you have a pulse, then you need to join this program. You're a husband, you're a father, you're a leader, you have the weight of the world on your shoulders. You have to be everything for everyone, but do you know who and how to be for you? You're still in search of your own significance. You're in internal battle with your own vices. You're questioning, do I even know what it means to be a man? I know I'm supposed to be there for others, but what about me? The fact is, you need a model. You need a code to live by, a system of principles to govern your life. You need an internal compass to guide your every decision. You need the 4 securities to build your own kingdom. What you need is the Foundry. In short, a foundry is a facility where castings are produced by melting metal, pouring liquid metal into a mold, and then allowing it to solidify. Well, this is where we're testing the mettle of men. Foundry is a 12-week men's-only coaching program. It is a brotherhood that will take each man through a purification process of the heart, mind, and soul. We here at Couples Academy promise you that if you give us 12 weeks of your life, you will no longer recognize it. If you care about the improving of your life, your marriage, and your family, register today.
Hey guys, you're watching the Couples Academy show. We've been talking about this whole trust issue, and on the other side of the break, he broke down the word security. It means to see a cure, right? There's certain things that you need to heal from. There's a cure that's waiting for you, and once you have those areas of your life healed and cured, it will create security, which will allow you to be able to be vulnerable and to trust and tear down that wall and build the window up that allows you to see into each other's lives. So great point, Roland. But let's continue this conversation about things that you need to do. Here's a question. Is my mistrust coming from something that is actually happening in the present, or is it related to my past? Now, here's the reality. For people to say, just get over your past, just get over it, that was way back when, that can be very insensitive because it's not dealing with the struggle that you have, because as we said, it's lost in buckets and gained in drops. But I want to differentiate past and present, because there is a difference. So if your spouse has done something in the past, okay, you've got to give them grace. You've got to give them room to grow. You've got to give them room to become the best version of themselves. Because if they're showing up the right way, doing all the right things, and have literally gone through a transformation, as many of the people have, even you, Roland, gone through a transformation, you can't continue to imprison your partner to their past, because that will only make for a very challenging relationship.
It really does. We oftentimes we want to drive the car moving in a forward direction, but we're looking in the rearview mirror. But one thing I often say, if you realize the rearview mirror is much smaller than the windshield that it's on, and we have to look at our future, we have to look at our lives through the windshield and not through the rearview mirror. And but then there's also the side mirror, and on the side mirror there's a little disclaimer that says objects may seem to be closer than they really appear. We have to
Hmm.
move away from our past so that we can find ourselves operating in a level of trust and security within ourselves, so that way we can live our best lives. We want to hold on to things, and yes, it is very insensitive when we tell a person, oh, just get over your past. Oh, that's in the past. Just leave it where it is. A lot of times it takes steps, it takes a level of grace, as you had mentioned to your point, but there's also this word called reassurance. We have to be reassuring, one, to ourselves that we can overcome our past, and then we have to be reassuring to our wives, our husbands, that they can overcome as well. We have to walk together with a level of grace, holding each other's hands, holding each other accountable, and building each other up at the same time, one step at a time, one step at a time.
There it is. I hope you guys are getting this, because we're walking you through how to begin to do it. Your analogies are incredible. I'm stealing them. I'm telling you in front of everybody. I'm not giving you credit for it. So just know it when you hear it. All right, let's go to the last one. Do I possess self-love and allow myself to be loved and respected? I think this is hugely important, right? The fact of the matter is, if I struggle with my own self-worth, my own self-esteem, if I have all types of insecurities within myself that existed before you, that were present before we entered into the relationship, it's going to cause me to show up in life and show up in a relationship from a deficit, right? I'm not showing up as my best self. I'm showing up in a vulnerable, weakened state. And so, because I feel certain types of way about myself, I make assumptions about how you must feel about me, how you must, how you will treat me based upon my own stuff that I'm carrying, my baggage, my struggles, my faults, my idiosyncrasies. And so, the reality is, if you don't take the time to become your best self, you will always feel possibly that your spouse may not have your best interests in mind and may treat you. Think about it. People sometimes, we think people will treat us the way that we treat ourselves. So if I don't treat myself in a loving, worthy way, then I certainly can't believe that you will, and there it breeds the trust issue.
Listen, it's crazy. First of all, I want to say this really quick because you say you're stealing my points. My Cash App is no, I'm just playing, right? So a lot of times, listen, we have to find a level of self-love. And the truth of the matter is, how we carry ourselves is how people will treat us. You have seen it many times before. If you're dressed a certain way, you get a certain level of respect. If you talk a certain way, if you act a certain way, there's a level of respect that is given to you from outside people. But when you enter into a relationship, when you enter into a marriage, you have to have a standard. You have to have a level of what you believe for yourself. Because if you don't have it for yourself, you can't expect anybody else to give it to you. Or they're going to give you what they want you to have or what they think you deserve. See, self-love has to come from within. And if we know whose we are, right, to your point, then we can know who we are and we can walk a certain way and almost command a level of respect because we have this self-love within ourselves.
Whose we are, if we know whose we are, meaning we are children of the Most High God, right? And within us is the kingdom of God, and God's presence lives within us. And so I say this all the time: if you truly know your self image and your identity, if you truly know who you are, that should knock out all self esteem issues. There should be a God confidence that you have, not necessarily self-confidence, but a Godfidence. And if God lives within me, then what do I have to fear? Why do I have to doubt? Why do I have to struggle? I've got the best thing on the inside. I am a masterpiece because I got a piece of the master in me. Listen, guys, you're watching the Couples Academy show. We've been talking about trust. We're going to continue this conversation tomorrow. My producer is raising the music up to tell me to shut up. So I guess I'll see you tomorrow for another episode. Thank you, Madison. Take care, guys. See you soon. YouTube Shorts, all that good stuff. Hey, yo, Roland.
Yes, sir.
Can you get rid of that screen?